everybody, and welcome to Wine Library TV. I'm your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. So, yesterday I dropped a hint, and today I'm coming through. We're doing an episode on Italian Barbaresco. A couple people have asked for it early on in Wine Library TV's requests, and I finally got around to it. I'm a huge fan of the Barbaresco wines. 100% Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo is a great grape, also produces great Piedmonte Barolo. So what's really interesting about these wines is that they're probably a little less known than Barolo, obviously lesser known than the Tuscan wines of Brunello. And they really represent tremendous value and quality. The wines are of huge quality in comparison to some of the wines around the world, and they give you an old world rustic feel. Very interesting wines, and I really believe that we will enjoy this episode. So, without further ado, let's get right into the wines. The first one we have is the Albino Rocca 2001 Brick-Ronche Barbaresco. 2001 being a very, very good vintage. This is a 92-point spectator wine, and it's about a $55 bottle of wine, so it's not inexpensive, but it's definitely a very world-class winery. Albino Rocca is recognized as one of the great producers in all of Barbaresco. So let's see what he's bringing in 2001. Really nice color. It's definitely not as pitch black as some of the New World wines. It's got a little bit more of a rustic ruby garnet kind of flavor to it. Classic Italian nose. With these wines you're getting a lot more soil, a lot more earthiness, a lot more spice. Almost like a cedar box nose. Really quite interesting nose. Again, 92 points, so it's a nice score. Very, very dry. A lot of complexity on the wine, but I mean very dry. Very firm tannins. The mid-palate's kind of awkward. It's pretty early in the morning. We've had these open for about 3 hours, all of them, because they are big wines. These are totally different wines than we've been approaching lately on Wine Library TV. So I would first say that these have to go with food. The Piedmonte region in Italy represents some of the most food-friendly wines in all the world, but by themselves are not the easiest to drink. Again, extremely dry. The acidity and tannins are very obvious. This is not for your first day wine drinker, for sure. I like the complexity of this wine. It's very aromatic. It's also very romantic of a wine. It's just got a lot of process going through it. A lot of Asian spice, a lot of white pepper, rose petals. It's intriguing, but I will tell you that I'm not in love with this specific effort. I find the wine to be a little bit thinner than I'd hoped, and not quite as fruit forward. I mean, the flavors are just muted, and the acidity is very fierce. Very fierce. It's a very young wine. This wine will cellar for 15 to 20 years easily, and maybe it will evolve in the future years. I'm going to have to pass on this effort. I'm definitely going to have to pass. Okay. The 1998 Ugo Lequio Galina Barbaresco. Very small producer. Galina is an amazing vineyard in the Barbaresco region. And so this should be a lot of fun and very interesting. Now, once again, you notice, I don't know if you're going to be able to notice, I wish you could. I mean, this is the one thing with the video that I would really love to figure out, and I know even against a white backdrop, it's not going to really, really help you all the way. But this is one of the first wines on Wine Library TV that you can see through. I mean, once again, we talked about this, and it's ironic that we're doing this, and Eric's shaking his head, so that confirms it. This is a light-colored wine, and again, the Nebbiolos can do that. You've got the brown-orange edges that we've talked about in the past, so it's quite interesting. Interesting nose. Has a very interesting nose, actually. Severe tar. We love that tar. It's coming through very obvious. Very black, sour cherry as well. Also a little bit of hint of black jam. Blackberry jam. Nice, very nice nose. $45 to $50 price point Barbaresco. 1998 was a spectacular vintage in the Piedmont. Again, this is very dry as well, but this is much more refined, silky smooth. What a velvety kind of body to it on the mid palate. I'm really impressed with this effort, actually. Very nice. Great tannin structure, but smooth. Drinking so well right now. I could imagine this great with a nice steak, skirt steak, something of that nature. What I'm really ultimately impressed with this wine with is that the finish is just going on for hours. I mean, this finish is still going to sit here for another minute, I think. I mean, the flavors are very intense. It's got a really aromatic kind of plum finish. There's a little hint of oak, which is quite interesting, which is unusual more for New World wines, but it's coming through a little bit. Definitely a little cedar box. Very, very powerful flavor of a tobacco leaf on the finish. This is a very interesting wine, and the way it's drinking right now, I'm going to recommend this wine. I would probably score this about 90 to 92 points. I'm really impressed with this effort. It's a delicious Barbaresco. And again, to me, that's where it really shows its power, because it's very old world, but it's got great fruit, and I think every wine drinker, even a New World wine drinker, would enjoy this effort. Let's move on to the Pertinace 1998 Barbaresco, and this is also a single vineyard. Comes from the Castellizano vineyard. This is a very well-scored, well-priced Barbaresco. 91 points Parker, $35. So, this is the kind of wine, if you've never had a Barbaresco, that you may want to seek out if we think it's as good as well. Once again, we're getting that kind of orangey brown, ruby color. So, I mean, it's good color for Barbaresco, but obviously I wouldn't call this great color, which is a rarity for me on the show. So let's see what's going on here. The color is just solid. And hello. I mean, we're getting a totally different, okay, this is great. I'm glad this wine is showing this way. This is very rustic. This is very much insects mixed with fungi, mixed with wet rock. This is really interesting stuff. I mean, I love these kind of wines, but I definitely realize a lot of the viewers out there are not going to appreciate the subtleties and the old world nuances to this wine, but the nose is really, really interesting. A little burnt wood. I mean, this is like going, through the woods in the 1500s in Europe. That's what it makes me feel like. And so that's an interesting feeling. So let's see what it's like. I get a hint of concrete, a little bit of mushroom, almost like a mussels shell flavor. I mean, there's very exotic flavors going on here. This is not a fruit wine. This is much more of a earth wine. This is like sticking your face in mud and just eating. But that may not sound so delicious and fun, guys, but I'm telling you, this is a very romantic bottle of wine. And I really enjoy this wine, actually. And with food, especially something complicated with a lot of spice, what have you, this is a much more interesting marriage than a fruit bomb, a Shiraz, or a Cabernet. I mean, I really enjoy this wine, but I'm going to be very careful because there's a lot of people that can get pissed off with me for recommending this. This is definitely something that you've got to really dissect. You got to really put on your thinking cap and get in there, because this is a different kind of wine. But a very charming bottle of wine, and very interesting, and well worth the price. I'm on board with Parker on this. I'm going to go 91 points as well. Easy, actually. I could see it doing even better. Again, 98, drinking well, showing well. This is an experience. I like this wine a lot. Yeah, you're getting very sour cherry flavors, just like that's the dead ringer fruit, if anything else. I like this wine. Let's move on. What we have here is the Tenuta Cereta Bordino Barbaresco 2000 vintage. And this guy is 93 point spectator. And 2000 vintage was world class. I think James Suckling called it the vintage of the century, 100 points for the vintage. So 2,000 Italian wines sold real well, 36 bucks. You can see, again, a darker color, or maybe you can't see, but definitely a darker, more rich color. Not Shiraz Cabernet, but definitely darkest of the four. .5 alcohol content. Not giving me much on the nose at all. While I'm swirling this to see if I can open it up, I just do want to say one thing. If you ever go to Italy, everybody loves to go to Tuscany and all these other places. You have to go to Piedmont. Not only for the truffles, because that's just the greatest thing on earth, but because it is a romantic, wonderful town with tons of history and great museums, unbelievable restaurants, and tremendous producers of top-notch Barolo and Barbaresco. It is definitely a trip that you need to seek out if you've never been. I highly recommend it. This wine's overrated. I'm not a huge fan of this. It almost tasted like a mix between fruit and toothpaste. It's just really, I don't know, not coming together for me at all. Very dry, off-balance tannins, a little fruit up front, the bouquet's showing nothing. It's tight as a rock. I know it's a long, vintage, cellaring vintage, so maybe it will open up, but at this point, this is definitely a pass, and I don't see this guy really showing much promise long-term either. And this is sad. I mean, this is where, WLTV really burns me. This is our #1 selling Barbaresco. So, obviously for the 2 or 3 viewers that watch the episodes, they will no longer be buying it. But, yeah, I'm not feeling that wine. I'm not sure. Let me give you a little bit better of a description. I know sometimes when I don't like the wine, I don't go into it and people argue about that. Sour, off balance, very dry, no real exciting flavors. Just an all-in-all pass. I mean, get this guy out of here. This is a bum. Questions, comments, all the fun at the end. Let's do it. Here are the questions that I need to answer. Everybody asks, hey, what's up with your hair today? You might have noticed yesterday I went a little punky, little funky, little whatever you want to call it. I don't know, just did it to see what people would say. Comment from Pete B says, hey, by the way, how did the party go this weekend? How were your wine selections received? Pete, excellent. The Godeo was a huge success. It was a great crisp white wine. It actually ended up being a nice day in New York, so we drank a lot of white wine. Actually, all white wine. We drank one Barolo, the Marquis de Becker 2003, which I know several of you have asked me to taste on Wine Library TV. It showed great. It went over great. And now that I've had one practice run, I will be announcing the date for all you Wine Library TV viewers to come and party at my apartment and taste wine with me. That'll be coming in a couple of weeks. Look for that. EJ says, how do you handle red wine once it's been opened to enjoy the following day? Recap the original cork? Do you recommend vacuum in, refrigerate, or room air? EJ, great question. A lot of people ask this all the time. I'm a big fan of the old school, cork in the bottle, on the counter, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm a huge fan of that. Now, if you're planning on saving it for 3, 4, 5 days, the vacuum in is a great product. I have one, I do use it, but not really that much because obviously I'm in a different situation. I need to taste a lot of wines. I get to taste a lot of wines, so I'm a cork in the bottle, next day kind of guy, but I'm sure several of the other people will give you their recommendations in the comments section today. Stan VH says, I noticed that sometimes you appear to take price point into consideration when you award scores. Does Robert Parker Wine Spectator? In other words, would a 90-point bottle at $15 still be a 90-point wine at $35 or $75? Stan, VH, great question. I take price into consideration, so a 90-pointer at 15 is definitely not a 90-pointer at 35 or 75. I'm not quite sure if Spectator or Parker are. They both have explanations on their websites, but it's very confusing and foggy. Parker says that he scores wines within the actual category, so amongst other Barbarescos, this scores this. I'm not positive. I got to recheck what the Spectator says. I think they say that price has no impact, but I could be wrong. Maybe they do. I'll have to check that. Maybe somebody else can let us know. I do. I'm not quite positive. I'm sorry I didn't do the homework for the others. Gene M says, Gary, another great episode. Crazy Doc Brown hair. Question for you. Where do you see Wine Library TV a few years from now? Considering 5 episodes per week, you'll be hitting episode 400 by the end of next year, and episode 1,000 in 3 years. What do you think will change? Gene. I don't know. I mean, Wine Library TV has been one of the great accomplishments of my career. It's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my career. Where I see it is that all these Wine Library viewers that I have now will continue to spread the word and tell all their friends about it to get more viewers. Hint, hint, hint. And, hopefully we can have an impact on where the world of wine is today. I just really did this because I thought it was about time that somebody talked a little bit about sports and brought hammers on the set and wrestling figures and just, broke down a lot of the stereotypes. Wore, regular clothes. Of course, I'm wearing a suit today. I have a meeting later today. Don't kill me. But, just bringing it down to a real level. I think Wine Library TV has a chance to really revolutionize the thought process of a younger generation. I know I'm getting emails from people that are 21, 22 years old, and I hope if nothing else, I don't want you to love me. I don't need to be the guy because I really don't want that anyway. What I want to do is buy the New York Jets. What I really think will happen, though, hopefully, is that people understand that you're the guy. It's your palate, not mine, not Parker's, not Spectator's, not the New York Times, not the Wall Street Journal's, that your palate is in control. What do you like? And more importantly, if you want to get there, you got to taste everything. I notice a lot of people have never had Barbaresco. Are you kidding me? This is one of the world-class wines in the world. Go out and try something different every single time. I want every viewer to try something different every time until you fundamentally have tasted everything from Greek white wines to Portuguese red wines to South African Pinotage. And so that's what I'm trying to do with Wine Library TV. Where do I see it going? Down in history as the thing that changed the way wine was done in America. That's my hope. Obviously, I'm not that egotistical. I hope it helps a couple of people realize that wine can be enjoyed in a not stuffy atmosphere. Finally, I'm going to be using sign-offs that people have been recommending for my show throughout the every show. I'm going to be doing a different sign-off, so I'm going to be crediting the people who've suggested sign-offs. If you haven't caught on late to Wine Library TV several episodes ago, I asked what should be my signature sign-off. If you didn't notice last night, Katie Couric did the same thing. Katie, are you watching WLTV? Because last night Katie Couric on her first episode said she needs a signature sign-off, and please sign on to CBS's website and give her recommendations. I'm saying it right now, and especially because I called her out yesterday, that Katie Couric is watching WLTV, is stealing my stuff. I am going to even pay attention to what her hair looks like today. So, this is Gary Vaynerchuk, and I smell. Doug, was that good? We'll see you next time.